Imagine standing in front of a crowd of hundreds, maybe even thousands. Your palms are sweaty, your heart's pounding, and your voice feels stuck in your throat. But then, something shifts. You recall a single story from your life, a funny, painful, or surprising moment, and as you begin to tell it, the audience leans in. They laugh, they nod, they feel it with you. And suddenly, you're not just speaking, you're connecting. You're alive on that stage. Hello, I am Bharat, and welcome to Audiofybooks, where you will find excellent audio summaries of books in a very easy and interesting way. If you want to learn from new books, do subscribe to the channel. Let's get started with today's book. Have you ever watched a TED Talk and thought, wow, how do they do that? Why do some speakers light up a room while others feel like background noise? Carmine Gallo wanted to find out too. So he studied over 500 TED Talks and interviewed some of the most popular speakers to crack the code behind the magic. What he found wasn't a trick or a gimmick. It was something profoundly human. The best TED speakers don't just talk. They inspire, they teach, they entertain, and most importantly, they connect, and they do it using 9 essential techniques. But instead of listing those like a boring checklist, let me take you into their world. Imagine you're sitting with Sir Ken Robinson, Brené Brown, or Simon Sinek. What makes them unforgettable? It starts with passion. Carmine Gallo says passion is the foundation of every great talk. You can have all the data in the world, but if you don't care deeply about your message, why should anyone else? Think of it like firewood. Your facts are the wood, but passion? That's the spark. No matter how polished your delivery is, if there's no spark, the fire never catches. When you speak with passion, people don't just hear your words, they feel them. Take Brian Stevenson's TED Talk about justice and equality. He barely used slides. He just told stories. Real, emotional, gripping stories. And the audience didn't just applaud. They gave him the longest standing ovation in TED history. Why? Because his passion wasn't just seen. It was felt. That brings us to storytelling. Humans are wired for stories. Our brains literally light up differently when we hear them. Data gets processed. Stories get remembered. Think about it. Do you remember the last 5 stats you read? Probably not. But that story your friend told you last weekend, still in your head. That's the power speakers tap into. TED legends use personal stories, emotional anecdotes, or heroic narratives to humanize their ideas. They don't just inform, they transform. Jill Bolte Taylor, a neuroscientist, gave a TED Talk where she described having a stroke. While she was studying the brain, her story was raw, vivid, and unforgettable. She took a terrifying moment and turned it into a powerful message about life and consciousness. She didn't overwhelm us with brain chemistry. She painted a picture with words. That's what we remember. Another thing great speakers do, they teach something new. There's a reason the TED motto is ideas worth spreading. It's not just about making noise, it's about adding value. Carmine points out that novelty excites the brain. When something surprises us, our dopamine levels spike. We pay attention. So if you want your audience to lean in, give them a fresh insight, a new way of looking at the world, or a curious twist they didn't see coming. Hans Rosling, a statistics professor, once brought out colored boxes and animated graphs to show global health trends. That doesn't sound exciting, right? But he made it fascinating because he taught people something unexpected in a way they could feel. He turned cold numbers into warm human truths. But it's not just what you say, it's how you say it. Great TED speakers don't drown you in information, they simplify. They use analogies, stories, and visuals to strip away the noise. Simplicity isn't dumbing down, it's smarting up. Steve Jobs was a master of this. He'd say things like, it's an iPod, a phone, and an internet communicator. Are you getting it? These are not 3 separate devices. This is one device. That's clarity. That's power. TED speakers also know how to use visuals wisely. Think less text, more images. A slide deck shouldn't look like a Word document. If the audience is reading your slides, they're not listening to you. Carmine says, use slides to complement your talk, not compete with it. Think of slides as your backup singers. You're the star. The moment your slides start doing the talking, you've lost your audience. Then there's the art of being memorable. TED speakers use what Gallo calls jaw-dropping moments. These are the surprises, the demonstrations, the visuals, or the bold statements that make people sit up. Think of Bill Gates opening a jar of mosquitoes on stage to make a point about malaria, or Jamie Oliver dumping a wheelbarrow of sugar to show how much kids eat in soft drinks. These moments stick. They're conversation starters, and they're strategic. But you don't need stunts. Sometimes a simple pause does the trick. Silence, when used intentionally, is louder than words. It gives your message space to breathe. Emotion plays a central role too. According to Gallo, if people don't feel something, they won't do anything. Emotion drives action. Whether it's humor, empathy, awe, or inspiration, speakers who can tap into feeling can move mountains. Brené Brown's talk on vulnerability was one of the most viewed TED Talks, not because she had fancy slides or polished delivery, but because she was real. She cracked herself open and let the audience see her truth. And that's what made it powerful. And let's talk about practice. You might think these TED stars are just naturally gifted, but behind every effortless delivery is hours, sometimes weeks of rehearsal. Carmine shares how speakers rehearse, tweak, trim, and polish until their talk is not just good, but unforgettable. Steve Jobs would rehearse for days before any product launch. It's not about memorizing. It's about internalizing. You want your message to live inside you so deeply that it flows out of you. Then finally, authenticity. People can smell fake from a mile away. TED speakers are encouraged to be themselves, not polished robots or performers. The best talks feel like a conversation between friends. There's vulnerability, personality, quirks, and imperfections, and that's exactly what makes them resonate. If you're someone who's ever struggled with speaking, if you've stood in front of a class, boardroom, or camera and thought, I'm not good enough, this book isn't just for you, it's about you. Carmine Gallo's message is simple. Anyone can be a great speaker if they're willing to speak from the heart, connect with stories, and deliver value. It's not about being perfect. It's about being passionate, prepared, and real. So next time you have something to say, whether it's in a meeting, a pitch, or a stage, remember, speak like your idea matters. Because it does, and someone out there needs to hear it. And that wraps up today's summary of Talk Like TED. If this inspired you, if it gave you ideas or confidence, then go out and use your voice. Speak your truth. And if you enjoyed this audio summary, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Audiofybooks. More powerful insights from life-changing books are coming your way. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep speaking from the heart.